Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze how Arteta's tactics helped Arsenal dominate Slavia Prague to advance to the Europa League semi-final. So when we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have Arsenal in a 4-2-3-1 and Slavia Prague shifting to a midfield diamond. That was the major tactical theme here. So first we're going to break down how Arsenal looked to approach that midfield diamond and then look at how they were able to get into good attacking positions mainly through the combination of their front four. They have looked to adopt this system was to have a 4v3 overload in that central area. They have two strikers occupying the center backs, and then they would be looking to get width from the fullbacks, aiming to push back Saka and Pepe. However, Arteta's approach out of possession ensured that Arsenal weren't outnumbered in that midfield zone, and they were able to press higher up the pitch to disrupt Slavia Prague and ensure that they were unable to build attacks from the back. How were they able to do that? Well, what they ended up doing was that they dropped off the center backs and they had Lacazette and Rowe dealing with the Slavia Prague deepest midfielders. Arsenal's base shape would have Rowe sitting on Hromada, but you would often see the shuttlers dropping off deeper and at times even Provad dropping off deeper to attempt to receive the ball. So if another Slavia Prague midfielder looked to drop off deeper with attempts of receiving the ball, then Rowe and Lacazette would pick them up, and that would leave Ceballos and Thomas Partey the task of dealing with Provad and Ševčík. So as you could see, Arsenal are 4v4 in that zone, so then you have to question what they wanted to do with the center backs. Well, they had Saka and Pepe tucking in a bit narrow to close down the center backs and attempt to block off the passing lane into the fullbacks. And if the center backs or the goalkeeper were able to get the ball out to the fullbacks, Chambers and Xhaka would step forward to close them down. This was highly successful for Arsenal, and we could look to a few examples as to how they were able to disrupt Slavia Prague. Here's a prime example of Pepe and Saka just ahead of the center backs, and you could witness Lacazette and Rowe dealing with the two deepest midfielders. If we look to another example, here you have Lacazette and Rowe sitting on Hromada and Ševčík, and you could witness Ceballos shifting laterally to deal with Provad dropping off deeper. And if we look to one final example, you could see Lacazette and Ceballos dealing with Hromada and Ševčík, but look at Provad dropping off in between the two center backs to get on the ball, and Rowe immediately steps forward to apply pressure. The obvious alternative for Slavia Prague would be looking to play balls long into the strikers, but they struggled to dominate the battle between Holding and Mari, and then you could question the central midfielders. All you want them to do is to make runs off of their markers, or for instance, have the advanced midfielders shifting laterally into space behind their fullbacks to receive the ball. However, when they did look to do that, Arsenal were able to cope with that threat. Here we have Ceballos and Lacazette stepping to the deepest midfielders and Pepe blocking off the passing lane into Ba. But when the pass is played beyond Ceballos and Pepe, you have Provad shifting towards the touchline, but here you see Xhaka stepping into the play to help Arsenal cope with that threat. And if we look to another example, once again it's Pepe blocking off the passing lane into Ba, but look at that central midfield zone. Ceballos, Lacazette, and Rowe are covering three Slavia Prague midfielders, but what we end up seeing next is that when the Slavia center back pushes forward, Lacazette loses track of Provad. That's where he's able to scoop the ball over Lacazette and Ceballos, but when Provad receives the ball, he's closed down by Thomas Partey, with Ceballos tracking back and Xhaka just ahead of him, and that's where you end up seeing Thomas Partey step in to win possession. Now when we shift back to the board and focus on Arsenal's shape, what we end up seeing is a contrasting attacking approach to the first leg. At the Emirates Stadium, they had Saka and Willian dropping off deeper, with Saka looking to spin in behind and Lacazette looking to spin into that space that he creates. Whereas where Willian dropped off deeper, Rowe was looking to run off Hromada into space behind the fullback. However, here, while Lacazette was still dropping off deeper to check into the ball and drag out the center backs, and Rowe was still looking to break in beyond Hromada, out in the wider areas, we witnessed a different tactic. Saka and Pepe were operating as inverted wide players, with Chambers and Xhaka adopting deeper positions. Yes, there were times where Chambers did make some overlapping runs, but their role was to stay deeper and allow space in those wider areas for Saka and Pepe to run at the fullbacks. Pepe in particular was looking to break in behind, and while he did start the game on the left side of the pitch, he was looking to make runs in behind Ba, and on a few occasions in that opening half, we witnessed Marty looking to play balls over the top to set him free on goal. Ultimately, this was a logical approach by Arteta, especially if Arsenal did drop off a bit deeper, because they still didn't apply pressure on the center backs with Lacazette and Smith Rowe dealing with two of the midfielders, and with the fullbacks looking to push forward to provide width. If Arsenal were able to win the ball, there would be space in the channels for Pepe and Saka to break into. Slavia Prague should have their forwards stepping to the center backs and then having the shuttlers shift out to close down the fullbacks so that their fullbacks don't have to push higher with the center back shifting across for help. So that means that Stanciu should be stepping out to Chambers with Provad dropping off Ceballos and Ševčík moving central to close down Thomas Partey. And if Xhaka were to get on the ball, Ševčík would close down Xhaka, Provad would shift across to Thomas Partey, and Stanciu would deal with Ceballos. However, Arsenal's intent wasn't to get the fullbacks forward, so they simply want to pull out the shuttlers and get the ball out to their wide players, and then look to find Smith Rowe in space away from Hromada to combine with the wide players or get him into advanced positions. And ultimately, that was Arsenal's tactic. They were confident in a 4v4 battle against Slavia's backline, so they wanted Lacazette to pull out the center backs, Smith Rowe to find space around Hromada, and then have Saka and Pepe run at the fullbacks. Here we see Stanciu being pulled out by Chambers, with Saka dropping deeper to check into the ball, and Smith Rowe in acres of space to the left of Hromada. As that play develops, we witnessed Arsenal breaking forward and Xhaka sliding the ball to Pepe to take on Ba in a 1v1, but his cross is cleared, but Arsenal are still able to retain possession. That leads to Chambers pulling out Stanciu, and he ends up playing the ball into Lacazette, but look at that side of the pitch. It's a 3v2 because Hromada isn't marking Smith Rowe. Lacazette ends up flicking the ball first time to Smith Rowe, and look at how much space he has at the edge of the box. That ultimately results in Smith Rowe breaking challenges, and he ends up carrying the ball in towards the box, and look at the three Slavia players around him with an unmarked Pepe looking to break towards goal. Shortly after that, you witness Holding sliding the ball across Chambers and the Slavia left back for Saka pulling out Zima, and look at Smith Rowe to the left of Hromada. When Saka receives the ball, he ends up dropping it back to Chambers beyond the left back, and that's where you begin to see Smith Rowe looking to push forward. When Saka takes out Zima and drops the ball back to Chambers, Smith Rowe instantly sprints across Hromada into the space behind Zima, and that allows him to break free on goal as Lacazette is occupying the other center back. That's where you end up seeing Smith Rowe carrying the ball towards right half space, but no one tracking the movement of Saka's run as Zima's forced to shift across to Smith Rowe. That ultimately results in Smith Rowe pulling the ball back to Saka to break free on goal, and it's Hromada who makes a challenge to concede the penalty. And even when we look to the third goal, it's Smith Rowe stepping towards a loose Xhaka header ahead of Hromada, and he drops the ball off to Thomas Partey, who instantly looks to shift it wide to an unmarked Chambers. Look at Saka, who now shifts a bit towards the right touchline as he's ahead of the left back to position himself in a 1v1. When Chambers receives the ball, he ends up pulling out the left back, and all he has to do is win this challenge or slide it across him to place Saka free, with Zima coming across. Chambers ends up sliding the ball across the left back to place Saka in a 1v1 with Zima, and that results in Arsenal's third goal. So as you can see, Arteta won the tactical battle here by nullifying Slavia's midfield diamond and then maximizing his front four to find holes in their backline, as Arsenal comfortably won this tie in the opening 25 minutes. Hi everybody, thanks for watching, and subscribe here for your latest tactical analysis and daily commentary on the InnerViews show. And if that wasn't enough, don't forget you could find more organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis on the InnerViews podcast, the best soccer/football podcast in the world, available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and any Android apps on your Android devices.